Welcome back everybody to ChiBeReading. I am Chi, aka Chioma, or Chioma aka Chi, and this is my first video that's not a tag. And today, for my second official video on BookTube, I wanted to throw it back to my favorite Black authors that I was reading back in the day. I'm talking about the YA authors I would read when I was actually a YA and not like a grad student who dabbles in YA every now and then. So these are my top 5 authors who I used to read back in the day. So for this first video that I have to give the biggest shout out in the world to, because I just found out that the author of this book is Black like 4 months ago, and this is literally my top 5 books that got me into reading like from jump. And the fact that I did not know that this author was Black until 4 months ago, conspiracy. But that book is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. This book goes off, and I think it really speaks to the erasure of Black voices in history, because Alexander Dumas is not only the author of this epic book, The Count of Monte Cristo, but he's also the author of The Three Musketeers. And The Three Musketeers is kind of the baseline for a lot of just dynamics in a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. It's a colloquial term. It's a term that people know. It's a story that people are familiar with, but I feel like no one knows that it was written by a Black man. So that says a lot. But Alexander Dumas goes off in The Count of Monte Cristo. It is the greatest tale of revenge, the greatest tale of petty, the greatest tale of betrayal. But it starts off, this man, he's like living lavish, living life. Like, you know, he got a little girl that he's like gonna marry, his best friends. Like, he's having a good time in life. And then he is betrayed, ends up in prison for life for something that he did not do. And he just plans the greatest tale of escape, of revenge, of just like the most minute like pettiness that you have ever seen in a book. And it is executed so beautifully. Like, don't be fooled by the fact that like it looks like real like AP literature. You know, I can see you getting post-traumatic like English class syndrome with this, you know, but it is great. Don't be fooled by that. I swear, give this a chance. It is such a tale of suspense, of intrigue. The characters that you come across like while he's in prison, before he's out, like all are so masterfully woven into this intricate tale of pettiness, and I love it. So I definitely think you should read The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. This book goes off. It's amazing. Now, for the only 2 non-paranormal romance books on this list, we have a book that I absolutely love. If you want some contemporary Black YA love, if you want some contemporary romance, this is the book for you. I say this because one of the 2 books is definitely the book for you. The other one, you know, I have a lot of feelings. The next 2 books are Jason and Kyra and Played by Dana Davidson. Shout out to Dana Davidson, because Dana Davidson is an amazing storyteller, amazing character builder. Like, I just fell in love with these characters, and that's honestly something that's like continuous for all of these books. But Dana Davidson can craft a story, can craft a romance so beautifully. Like, you are in there with Kyra, like that is your relationship. Yeah, and it's really amazing. Jason and Kyra is just a beautiful romance. It's just a beautiful, it's kind of like your typical kind of like, you know, star of the basketball team, and then like, you know, the regular girl who's just like, I'm just trying to get to college, and it's just that. And then the way their romance blossoms, the way both of them are kind of used to different things in a relationship, is just actually so beautiful to read about, especially coming from someone who is the star of a team, who's really just used to, like, you know, we know all the rumors about basketball players. So in high school, the high school version of that, and then you have just the regular girl, their kind of trajectories of a relationship, their kind of knowledge of that is very different. To seeing them navigate that together was just absolutely amazing. Dana Davidson is absolutely amazing, like 5 out of 5 stars. Like, definitely recommend. Played is something else. Played is something else. I have a lot of thoughts of Played, and I'm not gonna say I have mixed feelings because I know my feelings, but I have a lot of thoughts. So like, as I said, Dana Davidson is amazing at crafting the story. She's amazing. She's amazing at building characters, amazing at all of it. So, is this a well-written book? Yes. Are the characters in here just beautifully and so strongly done? Yes. Can Dana Davidson do no wrong? In my mind, yes. Did I like this book? I don't know. Like, It's one of those books with a star of the, I think the basketball team again, or the soccer team, or some team, some star, the fine one of the school. His whole gang dares him to take a quote-unquote unattractive girl out on a date, or get her to fall in love with him, or get her to do other things with him, but it's all a joke. It's all a joke. So he's placing bets on her, right? So you see that, and like with that, you know that from jump. So you know that in the beginning of this book. So you have that lens on when you're like looking at all of the main characters' kind of actions, all of his actions towards the main girl, all of like the things that he's saying, all the sentiments. So you have that lens on. So you kind of hate him off top. You also see it as he's changing, how he's changing, and you kind of be like, oh, okay, he's kind of getting a soul, but I know who you are, but I know you. So it's kind of hard. You're kind of torn throughout the book, like, okay, like this started off as horrible, but then like, is he getting better? Is this genuine now, or is he just a really good actor and I can't even see it right now? So it's a lot of roller coasters that you have to go through, and I would say, like, I think it just pulled at my heart. So I do think you should read this book. After you finish it, will you feel like you read a great book? Will you be happy that you read it? Yes. Will you like it? Will you be happy with the ending? I don't know. Definitely have to read Davidson. He is just an amazing romance writer, amazing story crafter, just amazing. So kudos all around to Dana Davidson. This next book is extremely near and dear to my heart. I would say this book actually changed my life, and it does sound dramatic, but this is actually the book that I based my college admissions letters off of. I don't know if they still do that now with everything going on, but back in the day, you had to write pretty much 1 or 2 essays, pretty much begging the admissions office why you wanted to go to a university. And I wrote mine on The Pace by Shelena shorts. And if you have this book and you turn to the back cover, you can probably guess why. But this is truly an original plot with an enthralling romance. I absolutely love, I stand everything about The Pace and Shelena shorts book. This book is absolutely amazing, so unique, especially of the time of books that were coming out. It is just so different. So it's about, you know, it's a paranormal romance because, you know, all the books I read back in the day were paranormal romance, more supernatural than paranormal, and I do think there's a distinction. I don't know, some people don't, but I do think there is. And this one deals with immortality. And I know the concept of immortality is more for like vampires and werewolves and like paranormal creatures, but this is actually just, you know, a regular old human being. Sophie and Weston, the 2 main characters, and I think they are college age. So this nowadays would be categorized as new adult, which is kind of like the genre that's before adult and right above young adult, which, you know, whatever, they're pretty much just age groups, but new adult is typically what I read. So Sophie and Weston are 2 main characters, and Sophie is a great main character. She's really just like, you know, a regular college girl, and she's very shy and soft-spoken, but very strong-willed, and you really see that throughout the book. And Weston, so Weston is the supernatural character in this book, and what's really unique about Weston is that he ages 1 year for everybody else's 30 years. And what I love about this book, see, I'm a data scientist, but I'm not like a chemist or a biologist. I don't know any of the other hard sciences, so the way they explained everything in this book, I was just like, yeah, like that could happen, right? Like the science really convinced me, like, wow, there are probably people out there like Weston aging 1 year for every 30 years. Like, I love that aspect of this book. And Weston's life and Sophie's life really get intertwined together as Sophie finds out more about this like immortal but non-immortal character, and their romance starts to build. And it wasn't like that instantaneous romance where like I see you like across the hallway and like it's instant love. It was really like you see that build, you see Weston start to open up, you see Sophie try to piece together what's going on with Weston, what are all these other things that are happening as their lives get more intertwined. It's full of twists and turns, and the end is very suspenseful. So if you like that, love a supernatural paranormal romance, want to read an amazing Black author, I definitely recommend Shelena shorts. The next author I'm going to showcase is an author who created a whole superhero world, and the first one is the Darwin's Children's series by Natasha Larry. First, can we take a peek at how amazing this cover is? I feel like back in the day it was so hard to just walk into a Barnes & Noble, walk into Amazon, and like all up in your face is just like a strong black woman on the cover of a YA book, or a strong black girl on the cover of a YA book. Like, it really doesn't matter what this book was about. If I'm walking through the aisles and I see it, I'm picking it up. It's that simple. So I absolutely adored this series. And here's the second book. I adored both of these books. They're both superhero books. So Natasha Larry does a beautiful job of just painting a world. Like, I feel like I fell in love with the characters, their background stories, and the setting, and the superhero world that she paints, or the superhuman world that she paints, even before the plot really kicked in. Like, everything about the characters and the setting were absolutely beautiful. There are a lot of gut-wrenching moments. Like, when you hear the backstory of the main girl in this book, in both series, it's really like, it's very gut-wrenching and very kind of realistic, and it really tugs at your heartstrings, definitely. So the girl here, she is telekinetic. Her whole family is kind of like supernatural, but like the whole, like, not everybody in this world is supernatural. So she's really kind of thinks like, you know, going to school and all this stuff is really mundane because, you know, she's telekinetic. So, you know, she can read and manipulate people's thoughts. And if I was in high school, and if I could do that, like, test day would have been a whole nother thing. But she's a better person than I loved her as a main character. So smart, so bright. Like, it was just so enjoyable. And there's a lot of foreshadowing, like a lot of like really vivid like foreshadowing. Like, I remember I'd be like 3/4 of the way in and I turn back to the second chapter to be like, wait, should I have seen that coming? It's full of twists and turns, learning about all the supernatural abilities and all the superhero characters and the setting. This was just an amazing book. There is some romance in it, because, you know, I did not read nothing that was paranormal supernatural if there was no romance in it, and that is beautifully done as well. I absolutely adore this series. 5 stars all around. The next series that I'm going to showcase, or I guess the next author, is Wendy Raven McNair. Again, love these covers, absolutely love these books. Wendy Raven McNair, again, similar to Natasha Larry, paints a superhero world, and I think that was so great to see Black people showcased in superheroes. You don't see it in the movies much, and you don't see it in the comic books, so to have it in just kind of like YA books was amazing. So the main character, Adisa, lives in the shadow of her siblings, and she is just in love with superheroes. So that's kind of like how she's painted. She's painted as the sister who is in the shadow of her siblings, and her thing, her getaway from, like, you know, that like annoying life is superheroes. And then enter Mika, who's, you know, is tall, dark, and fine, and he's just like everything that, you know, a high school girl would want, apparently. But he's really stoic, like stoic and emotionalist. Like, he's not giving you anything. And for some reason that intrigues Adisa, and also intrigues me as a reader. It was very interesting to see Wendy Raven McNair write a character who had personality but was also kind of like one tone or monotone. That was very interesting. And, you know, Adisa and Mika kind of catch each other's eye, and they begin a budding romance. And he kind of becomes, like, in her head, her own personal superhero. You know, he's tall, he's strong, he's fast, all these things, and she's just like kind of like woven into like her superhero kind of like fantasy, or her love of superheroes. So a shy, slow romance starts, and I love that about this book, because, you know, instant romance in high school was just like, it was kind of getting played out. So I love how it was like, okay, instant attraction, but like, do I know you? Like, what are you about? And that was beautifully done. They begin a slow budding romance, and Adisa really wants to find out what is with the mystery of Mika. Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? You can do these kind of weird things, like, you fast, but like, ain't nobody that fast. So it was really interesting to see all about that. And she kind of learns about his whole world, the SP world of the world that Wendy Raven McNair creates, and it's just a superhero world. She learns about his family. She learns about him being so stoic is actually his way of controlling his emotions and having to control his powers. So anytime his like emotions start to kind of like rev up, like, that's when his powers become uncontrollable. And Adisa is actually very connected to him being able to control his powers and progress in the SP world. So the world that Wendy Raven McNair creates is so unique, like nothing I've ever read before. And the romance is so beautiful, so just like the romance that just gives you a hug. Like, you just love it. It's so beautiful and soft and nice. I love the main character here, and I love both main characters, and I love the world that Wendy Raven McNair creates. So I definitely recommend Asleep and Awake by Wendy Raven McNair. 5 stars all around. The next book is a mystery book. So kind of a typical, I don't know if it's typical, but kind of like a whodunit mystery. Like, if you've ever read Christina, Agatha Christie, kind of like a YA Black Agatha Christie book, and I absolutely love that, and that is Manifest by Artist Arthur. So this book is kind of like, yeah, I'd call it like a whodunit mystery book. And what is great about this is that the main character, I feel like people who have kind of like her background would be able to identify with how her personality has been shaped by what she has gone through, and I think that is extremely important, especially in YA. So she's talking to this boy, you know, and you know, they're hitting off, cuckoo, everything's all nice and all, and then she finds out that he's a ghost. How she didn't know that from jump, I don't really remember, but she does find out that he's a ghost, and then it's kind of this whole adventure of her finding out who did it, who killed homeboy, and the list of suspects just grows and grows, and then she finds allies, but then like, are you an ally or are you a suspect? Going through all of that is just really done great in this book. She also meets up with a bunch of other like supernaturals, and they kind of like form a little clique club thing, and they all try to find out like who did it. Is anybody else like murdered by someone? Is there like a serial murder out there? And that's all done in this book, and it's amazing. So that concludes my 5 authors from Black in the Day. My 5 authors from back in the day that I want to recommend. I really recommend them. I love pretty much every single book they've written. I just showcase some of my favorite, or the ones that I have in physical copy, not in digital copy, but I definitely recommend them. Let me know if you've read them or want to take a read with them. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you later.